Corey, we're super excited as well. So just to get this started, I'll introduce myself. And as people are coming in, I apologize if I'm distracted, and one of the other partners can step in if I need to adjust anything or do anything on my end. I'm Belinda Colon. I'm the curator at the Art Center of the Capital Region. I'm joined by Liz Reese, the CEO and director of the Art Center of the Capital Region, as well as Barb Nelson, the executive director at TAP, and also Elizabeth Dubbin, the executive director of CollarWorks and the Elizabeth Murray Residency. So I just wanted to give you a quick little heads up on us and who you're talking to today, as well as let you know that probably the best way to handle this is if you have a question. We'll start with one, and then as people are talking, if you have any further questions, if you could just add them to the chat. That way we can go ahead and try to answer everyone's questions. Now, we might not have answers to every single thing, and that's why this information session is here. We are trying to do our best to make sure that we are as on top of things as possible. And we want to make sure that we have everything answered for you as we can. And so as you registered for this Zoom, we have your email addresses, and so we can contact you further if there's anything that we need to report back to you. But also you have our email as well for the call for art at artcenteronline.org. But we'll put all of the information that we speak about tonight online to make sure that any other artists have that information, as well as you can refer back to it afterwards. So Elizabeth, Liz, or Barb, do any of you want to start with anything particular? Do you want to introduce yourselves or talk about the project?
So I'm with the Art Center with Belinda. From the Art Center's point of view, this is Belinda's project. I'm here to support her and raise funds and kind of ease anything that may come in her way. But she's got the final say creatively from the Art Center's point of view. Thank you for taking your time, everyone, today to come and join us and ask questions and let us ask questions. I really appreciate your time very much. We're looking forward to the project, and I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you.
Thanks, Liz. I'm Barb Nelson. I'm here much more for the, I'm thrilled to be part of this partnership. It's a really ambitious project, and we're hoping for a very strong creative response. And by what I see so far, I'm very enthused. TAP will be handling sort of the logistics of the installation and the project management end of things in terms of installing your artwork. So very excited to be part of the effort.
And I'm Elizabeth, as Belinda mentioned prior, with CollarWorks, and we're just a couple blocks from the site. And it's been a long time dream of ours to really use it as a space for contemporary art. And so we're excited to be a part of the project team and work with the community and our artist advisory panel to bring forward a pretty rock star vision for that space. I echo its ambitious nature. It's a big space. So
Definitely. And thank you, everybody, again, for coming. Like Liz had said, this is a really exciting project, and as all of us really feel is that this is an important project. And if you haven't taken the time to read more about it, I can give you a quick little synopsis of it. You know, it's a 500-foot stretch of road underneath the Hoosick Street Bridge. It was a massive divider in the 1970s, I believe, from the north and south of Troy. And what this project we're hoping will do is to encourage revitalization underneath the bridge with the use of placemaking, art making, and just good old community connection. And we're hoping that the artists here tonight and others that will be applying for this can be our first step in creating that. So thank you again for doing that and joining us. We are partnered with the City of Troy on this project, and we want to make sure that you know, we all understand that the project leadership team does also include the City of Troy. For this evening, we felt like we were able to answer as many questions as possible without having to have them on this call, or on this Zoom meeting, since everything's Zoom meetings now. But we will definitely get any answers from them as well if there's anything that we can't answer tonight that the city would be willing to answer. And they are very much involved in this project and are really looking forward to it. They're really excited about this as much as we are. So to start, I guess we can take a question from anyone. If you want to raise your hand, or if somebody wants to put something in the chat, we can get started. I think once we get the questions started that you have, then we can move forward with adding to those questions and relieving some of the questions that you might have. Anybody want to go first?
I have a question, Belinda. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Was it Corey or?
I hear a female voice.
Okay, it's Michelle Bowen.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Belinda. My main questions, a lot of my questions are around the budget. So with TAP managing the administration, the installation, project management part of that, should the artist be trying to create a budget around those items, or, and, you know, as far as the installation, because in parentheses, it said something about, you know, regarding like lifts and stuff like that. So if the installation is going to happen through TAP, is that something we should be putting on in our line items? I guess. I hope I'm making sense.
Well, what I think you're saying is, if you are going, so let me get this clear. In regards to installation, the artist will be installing if they decide to implement, and TAP will actually be your support for that installation. So you wouldn't be putting a budget in for TAP into your own budget. Is that your question? Am I getting that right?
Well, when I was reading it, I got the impression that the installation was going to be happening, you know, the artist would be there, but the installation is going to be overseen by TAP, or I don't know who, but so I guess I was wondering how does an artist budget for that? You know, because it had mentioned lifts and stuff like that, but if the lifts were being budgeted at a different.
Can I answer that, Belinda?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the artist budget that is in the call for art is part of a larger planning and development budget that includes administrative fees, or licensing fees, or evaluation, documentation, call for art prep, the type of expenses that took us to get here today. In your budgets, you are executing your art. That is all you have to be concerned with. If this is a silly if, but just by example, if you need a lift to do your art, that's going to be in your budget. If you need scaffolding to do your art, that's in your budget. If you don't want to do any of that construction work because you haven't had the experience with it, or it overwhelms you, or it's just not how you work, you can defer all of that and we will do it for you. And that's how that budget separates. So you shouldn't, it's all or nothing from that point of view. But even with that, if you want to put in an application where there's a hybrid in between, just work with Belinda to explain that, and we can understand that as well. But TAP's service, the Art Center's coordination, ColorWorks service is not part of your thinking.
Okay, that explains a lot. Thank you.
Right, and also in the call for art, if I can add, it does have in there a checkbox for if you want to actually implement the installation of the paint on the pillars, or if you are doing the design only. So that doesn't mean that the artist can't be, you know, involved otherwise, but if the implementation is to be somewhere else, you could put that in your application, and if anyone changes their mind, that would be a conversation that would have to happen, but you do have that option.
Right.
And how does the budget adjust once you check, if you check that box? Is there,
So
if
go
Can I
ahead.
take it? If you want to just submit a comprehensive design plan for a design fee of $20,000, you can submit that. If you want to be an integral like aspect of the implementation, like the installation, fabrication, you know, from design all the way forward to completion of the project, then you have up to $145,000 to work with, and that includes like all of the costs from design to implementation of the mural.
okay, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I'll just make it even more stupidly clear for myself. Implementation includes the cost of your paint and the cost of your equipment and the cost of your scaffold so there will be some artists who will want to bring their own crew, will want to be on ladders and lifts and use their own hands to install this. But there are some artists who are not going to feel that they have that resource. So we're here with that resource. If you want to stand on the ground and point and create drawings that we can work with and create, 3D or whatever it is that we need to create in order for you to be assured that the implementation is per your design. So there's that range.
Corey, does that answer your question? Because you had asked us about the difference between the artist stipend and the build out budget. Does that clarify? It sounds like it does to me. So Barb, there's a question here that says, what sort of technical resources are available to collaborate with for an artist doing mainly the art?
Well, I think it depends on the art that is proposed, and we're expecting basically painting on surfaces. So that would mean that we would provide, again, the crews, professional paint crews that would implement the work. If the work is very ornate, maybe there are stencils involved, and the artist would be providing sort of shop drawings, if you would. So there could be a design that requires a whole lot more detail, or it could be a very, let's just say each pier your concept is for each pier to be a different color. So as you can imagine, the variety of services that we don't really know what the artist is going to require of us, but within reason, whatever it takes. If we choose your submission, that means we're prepared to, and you say that you want only the artist fee and you want us to implement it. We're going to evaluate, I think, I'm not an evaluator, but the submissions will be evaluated as to their, our ability to install them. So did that make it more confusing? I think, again, whatever it takes within reason, expecting that this is a paint on concrete medium.
Right. So the next question was, I have a question about the definition of mural for this project. And I think that Barbara just clarified that this is paint on a surface. If you want to, Ben, if you had a further question within that, I mean, I think that's our respective answer for that question.
Yeah, get into it further if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Did you want to say something, Liz?
Oh, I just wanted to go back to the budget for a minute, just to clarify that as well. If you do a design and we implement it, there will be a phase where your design is realized by whomever we hire, and there will be a secondary approval to make sure that that design was realized in the way that you wanted to, in terms of how the peers go. So that will have that process. But also, just to be clear, if you implement this and you are your own contractor, for example, you do also have to have insurance. You have to insure your project. So you would have to put that into your budget. I'm done with budget numbers. Okay, Ben, go for it.
Thanks. That's an important clarification, though. I'm glad you got that in there. Yeah, I suppose my question's been answered already, but we are thinking of working in a non-paint proposal format, and I just wanted to know if there is any wiggle room for it to not be a traditional paint on surface mural. We're still developing what we're thinking about, but we're imagining things that are flat against the columns that could be applied similarly to paint, but they're more sculptural or architectural materials.
In particular, we were thinking about mosaic and that kind of application. So still planar, but not paint.
I can tell you that we are sponsored by the Bloomberg Philanthropy. And with that, we got a grant for this for a painted surface. So we can discuss it. You can apply for it. But I don't know that I just feel like it should be a painted mural because that's what we promised to the funder.
Let's get confirmation on that this week. We can shoot an email over to them. I actually think that that wouldn't be a disqualifier, but we'll commit to reaching out to them tomorrow with that. I think as what we really need to understand is that it's surface decoration.
Mm-hmm.
And if
is I think the key here.
Yeah, so we can go back and talk about that, and that's why I said you should still apply, and we'll let you know either way. I don't want you to waste your time, so I understand the question. So we will get back to you as soon as possible, Ben, and let you know.
And we had a further question on that. Did you want to repeat what you just said?
Oh, right. What about percentage?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a percentage paint and surface, percentage otherwise that would be acceptable to them. But that does answer our question about further shifts that we were thinking about in the area. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and again, this is not something we haven't discussed already. And it's gone back and forth a little bit, but we do need to go back and confirm it. So we will do that.
Could I jump in as well? One of the aspects of this is our somewhat, our commitment to maintain this artwork for, is it 3 years? 5 years?
3 to 5, yes.
So we should understand what maintenance means. To me, maintenance means if it gets hit with graffiti, we're going to bring it back to its original intent. But if it's ceramic and the whole thing peels off, no, that's not something we're prepared to fund the repair of. So that's could weigh into a decision. So if you're going to step away, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you're going to step away from your basic paint on surface, exhibit to us experience, materials, whether it's a vinyl application or other kind of two-dimensional application being, either a ceramic or a sand paint, or, something that has texture. I can imagine all kinds of things, metallic, objects, collage, but do think about our commitment to maintain and how, what that commits us to, what we're just within reason able to accomplish.
Thank you. Sean, your question was sources for supply budget items. Can you go in a little further in detail of what exactly you're looking for? Sean Stewart.
Yes, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just if you have some, contacts that the artist can, reach out to for estimates of, the amount of paint that's going to be required for such a project like this, or a place where I can get the square footage of the concrete pillars? I didn't see that in the data, but is it there?
It is in the data. First, let me answer the second question. Yes, it is in the data. And Sean, I can try to send that to you or direct you on where it is. And that's for the square footage. I believe it's actually the full amount is in the call itself on submittable. And it may even, it also should be on the website, but I'll double check that and I'll make sure I get that to you. And make sure it's there if you're not seeing it.
Okay.
Because I do know that that was one of the last things we were waiting on, and
Thank
we get it. Yep. And then in regards to resources, we haven't compiled a resource list for paint or supplies. That might be something that we can try to do, but we do not have that available as of right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Another one of the questions is back to TAP. What is TAP providing? Barb, do you want to respond to that?
Sure, we're kind of out on a limb to provide what it takes, as I said. We are architects. We manage major construction and minor construction projects. So we know how to take a two-dimensional design and get it implemented, get it realized. We also have Brendan Tateo here on the call, is listening in. He understands the technology behind the 3D software that that was used to generate the visualization data, and he did the calculations for us. So we are available for questions, you know, as you're calculating or as you're working on your proposal. If you would submit your questions, and I would think that Belinda could connect us, you know, if it's something we can help you answer. If you need snapshots of the 3D rendering, you may decide just to take photographs and use Photoshop to depict your proposal. But I think once an artist is selected, we'll be dealing with it almost as a piece of architecture and assembling what is needed in terms of contractors, professional painters, you know, arranging for closure of streets if necessary, lifts, apparatus, crews, you know, just making sure the budget and the schedule match up. So does that help? I hope that helps.
Additionally, you would be the conduit between the Department of Transportation that owns or has oversight of the
Correct.
bridge and the artist, so that if there are any moments that needs to happen, TAP would be the one to do that, as well as, you know, any permitting or permissions that need to happen.
Right. Correct.
Thank you. So Corey, you had asked about the budget project. I think we're all set there. Liz went into that, and I think we've clarified that where the 145 is, it does include design supply. It's design and implementation, not supply. I wanted to go back to Sean, and I want to share my screen for just a moment so you all know where this one resource is located when it comes to the CAD and design files. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen just so I can share that with you. So, can you all see this screen here? What do you see in front of you? Just want to make sure. Are you seeing the United Line CFA?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So when you're on the call for art page, so you go to the Art Center of the Capital Region, Public Art, Uniting Line. It brings you to this page that I'm on already, which is here. This gives you an overview. When you click here for more information, it goes to another page here that is the application, as application details in it. As you scroll down through this,
Belinda, we don't see it when you go to another screen.
oh,
You have to
Great.
unshare and share again. For some,
okay, no problem, I'll do that.
am I wrong? Is everybody?
It's frozen.
Yeah, it's frozen on Public Art Project, the first.
Okay, well then I'll just let you know that when you go on to the next page under dimensions and surface, it does have all of that information there. It has a link to that information. It has a link to, it says, there's a resource documentation that could be accessed here. So if you click on that, it will bring you to other resources that has the all of the measurements and all of the visual documentation of the site itself that can help you with some of those details that are a little more architectural in nature. So my apologies. I
Okay,
thought I
thank
shared.
you.
So there was a question about how much of the actual artwork do you expect to see in the proposal? And I think that's a good one to kind of follow up on what we just talked about. Because there are a lot of resource documents and scans, PDFs, various files from like CAD files and things that you could use. But we're not expecting you to necessarily provide us a CAD proposal. So there are PDFs, there's photographs, there's various resources that you could use to submit a proposal. But we are really looking for a very comprehensive conceptual design for the entire space. So from River Street to 6th Avenue, there's about 16 concrete pillars varying in size as you kind of go closer to 6th Avenue. And we're not necessarily saying you have to touch every side of the pillars, but we do want to see a unified conceptual design for the entire space. So however you feel is best to represent that in your proposal to us to kind of share that visual narrative with us, that is what we're hoping for.
Michelle Bowen, you had your hand raised.
Belinda, I was asking, it was a follow-up to the square foot, but I'm pretty sure you answered that. I was more specifically looking for every single, they were all very different. I drove through and around there. And so that location you're talking about has each individual one, correct? The width, length, okay.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. All right, wonderful, thank you.
So one of the next questions was, can the installation include a segment of built environment beyond just painting? Liz, do you want to answer that one?
I don't really know what the artist is intending, so it's a little bit of an open-ended question. The long-range plan of this project is to impact the built environment. We don't have a full understanding of what the community would want as an environment there to be able to feel comfortable approving plans around that idea just yet. A big component of this project that we haven't addressed is working with the community to engage and assure and learn from them what they would like to see in this site. Because of COVID, because of the nature of its long-term disinvestment in that site, it's not always easy to know what the community wants there. People right now are not very forthcoming when they see a site that's been under construction for 10 years to be able to vision what it would look like in the future. The surface project is meant to start drawing that out. It's meant to start working with the community. They start seeing the surfaces impacted, and they can begin to dream about what else can happen there. And I'm being as broad as the basketball courts staying, or skateboard parks getting in there, or amphitheaters getting in there, or more passive use around benches and meeting up spots. It's unclear because it's unknown, and that's what this project is embarking on. So if there are elements of your project that impact the built environment that are absolutely inherent to your surface design, you should include that. If there are impacts, if you're going into the built environment because you know it's necessary and your mind is just going there, I wouldn't yet, right? There's the difference between, does it support your surface design, or are you just continuing to imagine, right? Because we have to let the community inform our imagination when it comes to how that built environment is used. Is that a fair way of saying that? And I'm sure other people want to add to it.
No, thank you, Liz. That's a really good way of saying it. And it makes me realize that we actually have one piece of the built environment that exists. There is a mural of a phoenix at the basketball court. Prior to this project, prior to COVID, it was supposed to be painted this summer, but it didn't get done. The league that operates the youth basketball activities there has asked to repaint that for several years because they were not very involved in the painting of it in the first place. So that's been committed to. There's an artist has created a pretty dynamic mural of some very high-level popular basketball players. That can be shared with you, but it is the wall between the pillars. What we're asking for in this project is the pillars themselves. And there will be other things like this that come into, over time, the space will evolve. There will be built environment. There will be seating areas, benches, more play areas. That's all part of the city's long-term vision for this. But as Liz says, it needs to evolve together with your artwork. But that is one component that we hope will coexist with the artwork. And we really probably should share that with everybody so they know that it's part of the scenery.
And to be clear, there is no final vision of the built environment. There are simply suggestions. Nothing has been approved by the city or community councils or anyone to say, this is what it would look like. We can provide a link, if it isn't already there, to the hillside study that encompasses Hoosick Street. And it's in there that the planners began to sketch out suggestions, but please know they're only suggestions. There's nothing about those that you should take to the written word as to what's happening in that site. They were simply trying to excite people to say, hey, this could happen. So I wouldn't use that as your, I wouldn't be worried about it from that point of view. The best way I can explain this is think about your surface project as the clarion call to the community and its surrounding communities to think the rest of it through, to then start realizing that this is not a derelict spot. This is not a walk through as fast as you can spot, that this has potential. And when we issue another call for design around those spaces, if you want to answer that, you should, and you can continue on your good work. But we feel committed to the method of looking at what the community needs and values from those spaces.
Thank you. So one of the questions from Kara is the possibility of breaking down the funding per individual artist. That is the option of whoever it is that's submitting for that proposal, who wants to do that. It would be on your end to put that into your budget or to do that post getting accepted. We're not telling you not to, and we're not telling you to. There's no reason why there can't be multiple artists on one project. The breakdown of funding would be up to whoever's name is on the submission.
This is one design. We're not going to pick one artist for one set of pillars and one artist for another set of pillars. This is one comprehensive design. Under the umbrella of one comprehensive design, if you want to pay one artist $5 and one artist $5,000, that's your business.
All right, let's see. I also just put the link up for the Hillside, the Hoosick Street Hillside study. So that link is now in the chat if you want to copy that and move forward with looking at that. It really is, it's large. Give yourself a minute, but it's very worth looking at, especially with the location that this project is going to be in.
It's a lot about traffic calming. When you see at the very end how they're saying, and wouldn't this be cool? Please understand, nothing in there. You should be like, they're going to do this. This was the consultant they hired just wanting to excite the team. That's all that is. I think she'd admit that.
So let's see.
I see a question asking if the mural by the basketball court is going to stay there. The current mural you see there with the Phoenix, no, that is to be replaced by a mural that we will share with everybody. I don't have it here with me today, but I also imagine that as your proposals come in, our community leaders who run the basketball league will be very interested in seeing what those possibilities are, and I think they will be very open to discussion about how the artwork that they chose works or doesn't work or enhances. So there's conversation to be had. It's not carved in stone, but there is a design that is floated and is kind of approved by that group of just about the only community group that uses that space down there in a constructive manner. So we want very much to honor their input and to involve them in the final implementation.
Thank you. I don't see any other, let's see here, any other direct questions beyond what we've discussed. But if anybody else has anything else they want to more clarification on or have any other questions, please. Yes, go ahead, Ben.
Sorry, I had my little yellow hand.
Oh, I
raised.
see it now. It's just you can't see it against the white background. That's
Yes,
a design flaw.
I'm just wondering. I mean, I understand that the future of the area is uncertain in the long range, but do you know like what's going to happen in the next like 6 months, like when this is going to start to be installed? Because it's got all sorts of weird construction stuff and like tape and like falling down barricades, and it seems like it's a mess. So if you have any insight as to what's actually happening there, I'd appreciate that.
I can let Barb Nelson answer this. She's getting ready for it. But just to say that's mostly it's DOT, but Barb can go into more detail.
No, same answer. We are assured that the Department of Transportation will finish their work, that they will clean up their debris and their materials, and that they will return, just as any good contractor would, return the site to the condition it was, at least as good as the condition it was before. But that's, our partners at the City of Troy are working with DOT, to see that work completed. So we expect that it will be fully safe and accessible, and that everything that is temporary that's attached to those concrete piers will have been removed.
Elizabeth,
And you will not work if it isn't, like, if there's unsafe condition, if anyone determines that it's unsafe, you won't have to be there. If there's clutter or just junk left, it may be that they walked away from it, and we do work with the idea of kind of pushing the agenda that this space is worth more, right? There's a fine line between somebody saying they left it clean and somebody else saying, no, you didn't, but it will not be unsafe.
Michelle, did you have another question? Is your hand?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
If you don't mind.
No,
Getting back to the budget, it says it could be up for 5 years. is that something we need to account for in the budget? Like every 6 months or every year, there's a resurfacing event where we have to budget for more paint, or I don't know. I've never had anything up obviously that long before, so I don't know how something like that would work. And is that something we budget for now over a 5-year period?
Well, what I would say first off is that we're expecting the paint that you paint this installation to last 3 to 5 years. Now, will there be like touch up or something of that nature? There shouldn't be, but you know that we would hope not.
I know there's a sealant you can budget for. A sealant will go over, helps with graffiti and stuff like that. I just didn't know if if anybody ever put a line item in for something over that long period of time to get touch up work. But
We have
it
a
was just a
separate
question.
line in our overall budget for maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
But again, maintenance will be, correcting against vandalism or tagging, but we do not expect to guarantee this work in perpetuity. Public art is it's a really interesting area of contract law. So, I've heard of cases where artists come back 20 years later and say, you can't demolish that building, it has my work on it. We're just saying for 5 years, we expect this to last for 5 years. Hopefully it'll last 20 and people will love it and it will become an icon and a space that we all love and visit, and people will want to fund again the restoration of it someday. But we're not guaranteeing that at this point. We're simply expecting that the work you design and propose and install, and if we install it, we expect that it's good for 5 years.
What they call an active life. It will have an active life for 5 years. It may stay up longer, but for 5 years we commit to it. You commit to answering questions if we have it. We will not paint over it within that 5 years, but after that, it may stay there another 10 years, but there's no guarantee. It's actually more us to you that we're promising it will be there for 5 years rather than you promising to us it'll be there for 5 years.
Okay, understood. Thanks. Thank you.
Except if it's something like a mosaic falling off the wall. So if it is something like that, then, and it does proceed, there would most likely we would all benefit from a test period. That might be something that we say, okay, wait a minute, let's see how this goes. But that's down the line. I do want to speak to one thing, which is that there's a finalist portion of this, so that if quite on purpose, it's a 2-tiered process that finalists will be asked to resubmit. So if the team is really identifies with their project, but there's questions about it, or there needs to be further work, that step can happen. Okay, so you don't get cut off because somebody gets confused at that point. If the work relates and is aligning well with the project values and they want to see more, there will be that spot, that time to do that. Sorry, I'm done. More questions are in the chat, Belinda, though.
Yes, if we are proposing just the art, will the artists be involved, or can be involved a little in overseeing some of the installation? I would say 100%, 100%. I can't imagine having an artist do work and just say, okay, thanks for the design, see ya. We would never do that. We would definitely want, we would hope that you would want to be there and make sure that everything is implemented the way that your vision expected it to be implemented and installed. We would want your own say before it was installed incorrectly. Of course, we would want to make sure that you are part of that process. It wouldn't mean that you have to be there every day or anything of that nature, but that's up to you. But we would definitely want to have your input.
Hey, Belinda.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm Oscar, artist, and I was just down there yesterday, actually, looking at the space, And I had a question. I know it's just paint only, but I was considering like lighting within the painting, like actually the lighting affecting the painting. Is that something that I can just put in the proposal? Just propose lighting, you know, to happen in certain locations, and I mean, so and with that, would I need to basically, you know, give a budget with electrical equipment and stuff like that, or is that something that I could just talk to Troy about, and maybe through the county they
Oscar,
can
I would
figure.
I would say definitely if you want to enter it into your proposal because it is part of the full proposal, that's the way that you want it to look. I wouldn't say that you need to add that into your budget as of yet because I don't know that, I mean, it's up to you, but I don't know that that will be part of this first stage. But if it is something that we can incorporate, then we will let you know. But if it like we said earlier, if anybody wants to propose anything that's outside of the peers, you can add it to the proposal as the overall vision for your piece, for your work. So I would put in your budget, you know, what it is that you think is most important to the project and what you think you can afford within the budget that's provided to you.
Well, see, because I'm saying that because I assume that the city's going to put lighting anyway. So I'm wondering if is there any way that somehow I could collaborate with the city on that part of it, you know, so instead of whatever lighting they were going to put there anyway, maybe have a black light that can shine onto the mural or just that part of the pier,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
That's why I was just asking.
So we don't mean to sound like it's all in the future and this is this and that is that, but the city lighting Hoosick Street, lighting this art, lighting as art will be one of the next phases of our fundraising and our design. And it will be kind of its own project in that how it relates to the surface paint, how it relates to the architecture that is there, how it helps light the activities that may be planned along the corridor there, is actually a much larger design challenge than lighting the painted surfaces alone, and is going to be the next phase of this program. So if using black light and phosphorescent or other kinds of paints that if that is integral to your design, you should submit a proposal thusly. But if what you're concerned with is what's it going to look like at night, I wouldn't use your construction and your paint budget to address that because it's going to be a whole lot more money than that, than what you can afford to do. And we recognize that. There are issues with getting light electrical conduits up those pillars, getting transformers there, making sure it doesn't impede traffic, making sure it's approved by DOT. That is out of my scope of work, out of my price range, if you will, and it would most likely be out of yours. So I would focus on the surface and doing that well. We pretty much think that you're going to need that budget to do that well without getting into whole cloth lighting of those spaces.
Thanks for the question, Oscar. And Liz, thank you for the clarification.
I don't think there's electricity there the way that people need. I mean, it's going to be a much larger package.
So one of the next questions is, do you have an idea of the insurance coverage required?
Yes. The city needs $1 million liability at all times, and you would have to co-insure the city. Elizabeth Dubbin was asking me about that earlier tonight, and we have insurance specialists that can work with you to buy independent insurance. If insurance absolutely stops you and you cannot do it, the Art Center can look at doing it with you paying out of your budget, paying for the rider that we would have to get. So there would be a cost, but it should, I hope, not impede you from doing the project. But the city needs $1 million insurance. The Art Center needs to be insured. Colorworks need to be co-insured. TAP needs to be co-insured. And we can put that criteria together by the end of the week for you to look at what that means to cost out. Is that enough information to start with? Okay.
Yes, yeah, awesome. Perfect. Are there any questions about Submittable or or that platform? I had a couple questions via email of some people who couldn't get on because with Submittable, you need to set up a free account first and then you can submit. So if you're having any issues, just to clarify, you should set up a free account. And once you set up the free account, click the link, to the application and everything will go a lot smoother. All right. All right. Are there any other questions? Well, I'm going to say thank you so much to everyone for your time, for being honest about your questions and what your thoughts are on this. And I am going to clarify what happens with different materials on the surface, and we will confirm that. As well as, Sean, now that should be on there with the question of square footage. You should be able to get that information from the call for art page under fabrication. Oh, sorry, under, my apologies, I'm looking at the wrong section, dimensions and surface. And thirdly, we will make sure we get you this information about the insurance coverage. And we'll get this all online and make it available to you and anyone else who has any other questions. And we'll let you know if we have any updates. Keep the website on hand, and we'll make a section for questions and answers. We'll go from there. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Can't
Have a
wait.
good day.
Thank you. Thank you.